But hey, here's the thing. It's December. Right now, we're recording this. It is on December 2nd. And as much as we hate to say this to you, the fantasy football season's starting to come to a close.
It's crazy. I feel like it just got here. I feel like I was waiting months and months for it to get here, and it's almost gone.
Yeah, but things are going to be turning and churning and turning over. The rookie draft is coming. Before you know it, the off season's a lot of fun. So you got to start filling out your roster now, especially if you're not in contention. And I think that's what a lot of these players we're going to talk about tonight are really geared towards: non-contending teams or kind of middling teams. But hey, they can be for any team too. And we are talking about must-stash players. Now, there was a guy I was thinking about putting him on my list, but I went with another guy, and I still wasn't sure about him, but I just stuck with it, and we'll get there. But before we do, Nate, I wanted to ask you, is Kendre Miller, running back for the New Orleans Saints, worth a stash? Now, he did get hurt towards ACL, but before that, he was starting. I don't want to say he was coming out and really smashing per se, but he was starting to get some momentum here. He did set career highs this year in rushing attempts, 47. Again, we're not starting off the best, but just bear with me. Yards, 193.
Ooh.
Yards after contact, 4.1. And yards after contact and average yards after contact, 169 yards after contact and averaging 3.60 yards after contact. Alvin Kamara is technically under contract through 2030, but 27 through 30 are void years, and he's currently 30 years old. So we don't know what things are going to look like this coming off season for the New Orleans Saints. They need to get younger. But look, before we get into it, and before I let you dissect what you want to do, I want to talk about what it costs to get Kendre Miller first. Okay, so some trades that I found here, courtesy of Fantasy Calc. Jacoby Brissett for Kendre Miller in a 26th third. The next one is David Njoku for Kendre Miller in a 27th third. Eric All in a 26th third for Kendre Miller. So essentially a third for Kendre Miller. Eric All is the ultimate throw-in. And there's a lot of trades too. I'm not going to list them all, but Kendre Miller was essentially treated as a throw-in himself. So it's one of those things where you can acquire him fairly cheaply right now. But Nate, I wanted to know what your thoughts were. Are you going to stash Kendre Miller or not?
I'm probably not, but I don't hate these prices. Being able to trade Brissett or Njoku for Miller and a third, I like getting Miller and a third. That way I'm not totally reliant on Miller working out to get something out of that. I don't mind moving a third for Miller. I do like this draft class, but it's a third-round pick. I think getting Kendre Miller is a pretty decent value there because, you're kind of shooting for upside either way. So I'm fine with all of those values. I'm not a huge Kendre Miller fan myself. Haven't really ever been, even going back to his days at TCU. So not someone I'm necessarily going after, especially when we have Devin Neal there, who's about to be a league winner for the Saints. And then, once he's taken off and broken out, no hope for Kendre Miller. So
yeah. All right.
Well, just like Treylon Burks, I'm not sure if you saw Treylon's catch on, was it Sunday Night Football?
Yeah.
He's back. He's back. Never wrong, just early.
I don't know how you could be back when you have nothing to come back from, so to speak. The quintessential A.J. Brown replacement, Treylon Burks. Hey, good to see him back playing. And
one catch for 5 yards, but a mighty fine catch at that.
And a touchdown on one target. So he made the most of his limited opportunity, and he gave you, what? Let's see.
7.5 points.
Fantasy points in a PPR league.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
Someone's best ball team's happy.
Yeah. All right. Nate, give me your first stash.
All right. My first stash, someone I think is going to be doing quite well next year, is Kyle Monongai. Already doing quite well this year. Currently RB31 on the season. Keep trade cuts RB23. Thank you, Mike, for putting this one. I totally forgot to do that.
Not a problem.
Has 108.8 fantasy points so far this year, averaging 9.1 fantasy points per game. Now, this is a stash, I think, for next year, but also he's obviously doing quite well this year. Has a couple games over 100 yards, so he's already producing this year. Going to be hard to get him off someone who is competing. So you probably have to already have him, or maybe this is someone you're trying to acquire in the offseason when things calm down a little bit. And I think with him scoring points right now, people are really excited about him. I think once we get to the offseason, even though people will still be excited about him, it won't be in season, and I think he'll still be pretty acquirable going into the offseason. Because DeAndre Swift is still on the team and has, going to be on the team technically at this moment for next year. He's under contract for next season, so you'll have to get your Kyle Monongai shares before the Chicago Bears cut DeAndre Swift, and I think is quite possible. He has a $9 million cap hit next year, but only costs $1.3 million in dead cap if he's cut. So sounds like probably a pretty good idea for the Bears. I know they were looking at running back in the draft anyway. Early, they did not get the guy they wanted. I'm not sure Swift is the guy they love, especially with how much work to give him Monongai. Right now, it's already a pretty big split between the two of them. They're sharing that backfield. Kyle Monongai had 22 carries this past week against Philadelphia. He's scored 10-plus fantasy points in 5 of his 8 last games since the bye. And in the last 5 games, he is averaging 16 carries for 81 yards and a touchdown, averaging 5.1 yards per carry. Really, really good numbers. And over the last 5 games, Mike, he's averaging 14.4 fantasy points per game. That puts him at RB13.
Not bad.
Over that time period. So pretty good for a 7th rounder, I'd say, especially still splitting carries with DeAndre Swift. As you know, I am a guy that kind of is a downer on a lot of day 3 running backs. So I'm not sure if I'm gung-ho for Kyle Monongai to be, the lead back for the Bears for the next 3 years, but I definitely think he's going to have a spot on this team next year and have a pretty significant share. So I think it's worth paying for him right now. I think you'll get good run out of him for the next couple of years, even if he's not, the next Kyron Williams. I think he can still be quite productive in whatever role he's going to have on that team.
Can I say
Ben Johnson? So
one thing I hate to butt in here. Players like this, I always kind of treat them, you're playing with house money a little bit. You draft these guys late. If they give you a year or two, guys like your James Robinsons, Isaiah Pacheco could be a good example of that. And now Kyle Monongai, these were undrafted or late round guys. You didn't know what you were going to get from them. So whatever they're giving you beyond a year or two, it's just all a bonus. And you don't want to build your team around these players, but you definitely want them to be a piece of your team in some capacity.
Yeah. And even guys like, Rico Dowdle, you might pick off the waiver wire, having those kind of guys that you get for a really good value, even if they're not, RB1s for your team, they really help build out your depth and help you have a championship team. So it's important to have these kind of guys. And it's funny you mentioned Isaiah Pacheco, also went to Rutgers, also a day 3 pick. Kyle Monongai. I don't really have much Kyle Monongai. I have to really rethink my day 3 process for running backs going into this offseason. Not the fact that I don't like them. I'm not rethinking that because I'm still not going to love them. But when I do go after day 3 running backs, I go after athletic day 3 running backs, and none of them have hit recently. Meanwhile, you got guys like Kyle Monongai who ran a 4.6. You got guys like Cam Scatterbo. You have Kyron Williams. These guys who did not test well at all that are the hits in day 3. So I think, Mike, we might have to take a look into that athletic profile, and maybe we need to go after unathletic running backs who get drafted in day 3. Maybe the NFL knows something we don't. So going to be something interesting to keep in mind. But a couple trades here I saw for Kyle Monongai, courtesy of Dynasty Daddy. Saw Josh Jacobs for Kyle Monongai in a 1st. I love any trade where they get Kyle Monongai in a 1st.
Yeah, if you want to get a little younger there, and yeah,
thinking of a stash here. In another case, David Montgomery and Chase Brown for Kyle Monongai in a 1st round pick. Love that. Moving off those 2 guys.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
And I'm thinking, like, if you're kind of looking towards next year, you're not looking to win this year. That's why you're going up to the 1st and moving production.
Yeah.
In the same vein, Matthew Stafford for Kyle Monongai in a 2nd. Stafford playing like crazy right now, but if you're not contending anymore at this point, then someone you probably could move off of.
For sure.
Straight up for Chuba Hubbard, who actually had a really good game this past week. But
I think I want to hang on to Chubird.
Chubird.
Yeah, it's shorten everything like taxi squash. I want to hang on to Hubbard, to be honest with you. Rico Dowdle's not signed beyond this year. Chuba Hubbard has a clear-cut path to being the running back 1 there again next year. Obviously had that injury, and then Rico Dowdle was playing insane. And again, this is stashing. We're projecting that DeAndre Swift could be cut, but we don't really know.
Either way.
So
Kyle Monongai's already out carrying him. So
yeah, still, I right now I would hang on to Chuba.
All right.
Schubert again. All right. So again, This is my guy. We're stashing. We're projecting a little bit. I'm telling you to stash, and you can do it cheaply. Cleveland Browns running back Dylan Sampson, currently running back 51 on the season. Keep track cut running back 42. He has 65.7 fantasy points on the season. He's averaging a whopping 5.5 fantasy points per game. Now, Mike, why would you tell me to stash this guy? The Browns are terrible. They have Quinshon Judkins. Yes, they do. I understand that. But they also have Jerome Ford, who will be a free agent after the season. And I do think that Dylan Sampson could be a viable backup or a spot starter if Judkins is hurt or whatever. Okay. He's actually a fairly decent receiver, too. He's a better receiving back so far than he is running back. 23 receptions, 195 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That is 8.5 yards per reception on 25 targets. So he's only missed out on 2 of his targets. 1.91 yards per route run. It's close to the 2 that you like, Nate.
Nice special.
He has 10.0 yak rack.
Woo.
Give it to me. However, his grading as a pass blocker is going to need to be improved. Per PFF, 21.1, which is scoring in the red. So that's not going to keep you on the field, Dylan. But hey, I said his receiving stats are better than his rushing stats. What does rushing stats look like? Not that great. 42 carries, 112 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2.7 yards per carry. Now, the Browns have some things to figure out. Predominantly quarterback and wide receiver. I'm only talking skill positions here. I would normally you'd say tight end, but they have Njoku, and Harold Fannin has looked
Fannon's been incredible.
fantastic. And I was so off of him because I hated the landing spot, and I was so wrong. Harold Fannin, you're the man.
He also he gave me, and I should have learned from this, he gave me like Isaiah Likely vibes coming into college, which was another guy that didn't test well,
Right.
but obviously has played quite well in the NFL. Harold Fannin didn't test well. He was kind of undersized, just not someone that screamed by to me, but I should have had more.
We were wrong.
Happens.
I do think Sampson could be a really good just overall depth piece for your roster. But what does it cost to get him? Glad you asked. Woody Marks and A.D. Mitchell for Dylan Sampson. I don't like this trade. Oh, I'm sorry.
This is Woody Marks for A.D. Mitchell and Sampson.
Sorry, forgive me. I still think I'm
this
sticking with Woody Marks on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I can go either way here, honestly. I don't know what Woody Marks looks like after this year. Does Joe Mixon come back? If it doesn't, I don't think the Texans are just like, oh, Woody Marks is our running back of the future. I think they address that position with someone else. So if you're not competing, I don't mind moving Woody Marks for Mitchell and Sampson. Though I'm not a big Mitchell fan. He had a great game this past week. Maybe he figures it out with the Jets. He never just really got any opportunities with the Colts, unfortunately. So maybe he just needs an opportunity. So I'd take the upside here with Mitchell and Sampson.
I mean, A.D. Mitchell's career started out wrong. When the GM had to defend selecting you right off the bat, it's like it's stacked up against you.
Yeah.
Also, as far as Joe Mixon goes, he's 29, so he's almost dead. He is only under contract through 26, but it's only $2 million to cut him pre-June 1st. They save $8.5 million.
Yeah, I think the starting running back for the Texans next year is going to be drafted in day 2.
I agree, but that doesn't make Woody Marks irrelevant.
No.
Yet.
He can still very easily be the RB2 next year.
He's played himself into a role.
Yep.
The next one is Jaylen Warren for Dylan Sampson and a 26th third. If you're not competing,
I will keep Jaylen Warren.
I would still keep Jaylen Warren. And a 26th second for Dylan Sampson and Chimere DK.
Yep.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, I believe so. I know it's DK. I don't know exactly how to say his first name.
Well, that's what it is now.
I'm not. I know people love DK, and if you play in a league where you have punt and kickoff return yards, he's your wide receiver 1 on the season. That's great. I'm not really spending picks to go get him at the moment. I think the wide receiver 1 for the Titans and possibly the wide receiver 2 for the Titans is not on the roster right now. And if the wide receiver 2 for the Titans moving forward is on the roster, I think it's Ayomanor more than it is DK. Yeah. DK is a great deep threat and a great special teams player. I think he has a great role for that team, but he's one of those players I think ends up being a better NFL player than fantasy player. So I don't know. I don't have a lot of expectations from him fantasy wise. I think he has some big weeks, maybe like a little Rashid Shaheed kind of style. But I'm also, Rashid Shaheed, same thing with me. It's like, I don't know when to play him. I don't know when not to. Like him for best ball, but.
Yep. I did see a bunch of other trades where Sampson was kind of like a throw in, and then, a bunch of like thirds and multiple. So he is obtainable. Nate, who's your next stash?
Yep. Next up is Jayden Higgins, currently wide receiver 48. Keep trade cut wide receiver 34. 91.9 fantasy points in the game, 7.7. 91.9 points on the season, 7.7 per game. Since the bye is averaging 6 targets a game, which he is turning into just 3 receptions and 34 yards so far. But over the last 4 games, he's averaging 7 targets, 4.5 receptions, 50 yards, and a half touchdown per game. And a 60% snap rate, which is important. We've seen the snap rate go up. He is solidly at this point the wide receiver 3 behind Nico Collins and Christian Kirk, who's now healthy and has looked pretty good when he's been out there on the field. And the Texans are currently averaging the 6th most pass attempts per game in the NFL. That might surprise you because you know that the defense is really good, but their starting running back is Woody Marks, we just talked about. And as much as we love Woody Marks, he is not a NFL workhorse kind of running back. So they have to pass the ball a lot. And with that kind of volume, there is room for him to continue to break out in this offense, even with Christian Kirk back. I'm not worried about Jalen Noel. Jalen Noel is pretty much the direct replacement, I think, for Christian Kirk. So we won't see much of him until Kirk either leaves or, if he's on the sideline again for some reason. But I really like Jayden Higgins. I wondered at first, what he would look like across Nico Collins. At this point, he's looked pretty good. 6'4", 215 pounds. Remember, this guy had a 94th percentile speed score. He ran a 4.47 40-yard dash. This guy's athletic. He's big. He's got great hands. And over the last 4 games, has 2.04 yards per route run. The breakout is happening. He's hitting that 2 yards per route run threshold over the last 4 games. We see every year a couple of these rookie wide receivers who don't do much in the first half of the season. They break out in the second half of the season and set themselves up for a really good sophomore season. I think Jayden Higgins is one of those guys. I don't know exactly off the top of my head what Christian Kirk's contract looks like. I'm bringing it up right this second.
Right here.
Oh, look at that, Mike.
Technically only he's technically under contract through 2029, but 26 through 29 are void years.
Yep. So he's a free agent after this year. So exactly. I think, we're looking at getting Jayden Higgins now before whatever he does the rest of the season, which I think is going, I don't think he's going to, all of a sudden be like the wide receiver 12, top 12 wide receiver the rest of the season, but I think he's going to have a good end of the season and then possibly go into next season as the wide receiver 2 for this offense, which is kind of scary, having Nico Collins and Jayden Higgins out there. That's a little bit of like those old days with like Mike Evans and Vincent Jackson down in Tampa Bay. So the Twin Towers down there or whatever. So
hey, don't forget to mention that Jayden Higgins on the season has a yak rec of 2.1.
It's not good. I didn't mention that for that reason.
We gotta cover all our bases.
That's okay though.
He does have a 50% contested catch percentage. So
Yep. Not too expensive if you're looking to move off some veterans. Looking to move off Matthew Stafford once again. How about Higgins and a 3rd round pick? Devontae Adams, if you're not competitive this year, Higgins and a 3rd round pick as well. I saw Keaton Mitchell in a 3rd round pick. Would love to make that move.
Please.
People are high on Keaton Mitchell because he's fast and he started to score some points, scored a touchdown last game. So be happy to do that. Trey Benson also straight up for Jayden Higgins would be happy to make that move.
Yeah, and I like Trey Benson, but I'll take Jayden Higgins here.
I think Jayden Higgins is good. Remember, this guy was picked 34th overall. There's a really good track record for running for wide receivers who are picked top 50, and especially a good track record for those who are picked in the first couple picks of the second round. So, I mean, I don't want to say he's like almost a first rounder. He's basically a first rounder, but he's almost a first rounder.
Yeah, I mean, Will Levis was almost a first rounder too.
Almost.
Throwing that out there. All right, Nate, once again, it wouldn't be a complete podcast episode for me to do this without mentioning a tight end. So make sure you're going ahead and stashing Tennessee Titans tight end Gunnar Helm, currently tight end 31 on the season, tight end 30 on keep trade cut, 71 fantasy points and 5.9 fantasy points per game. Mike, why are you telling me to stash these guys that don't do anything? Well, look, he plays for the Titans and they are bad. Derek, turn this off. I know you're probably watching. Hey, looking good. I knew Cam Ward was going to struggle, but my God.
Yeah.
My God. There's some good news here, though, because Gunnar Helm, he's a rookie. He's getting some playing time. That's valuable for him. He's currently 4th on the Titans in receiving yards on the season with 290. Their leading receiver, can't talk, is Chig Okonkwo think I said his last name right. He has 406 yards. Alec Ayomanor has 339. And Calvin Ridley, 303 yards on the season. And he's got a big contract. Good news, though. Okonkwo is a free agent after the season. And while Ridley is tied up with money for the 26th season, he has a $40.5 million dead cap hit if he's cut
Terrible.
first. I know. The difference between Gunnar Helm and Calvin Ridley, Gunnar Helm has a receiving touchdown on the season. Calvin Ridley does not. For his season so far, 36 catches on 44 targets, 290 yards and 1 touchdown. There's some good, some bad with his advanced stats here. I'll let you sift through it. He's got a 3.1 yak rec. Not great. Better than Jayden Higgins, but he's also a tight end. Not every tight end is Travis Kelce or George Kittle out there and just mowing people over, being schemed open. Okay. 1.51 yards per route run. I'm going to count that as pretty decent for a tight end.
Pretty good. Yeah.
It's ADOT is 6.3. He only has a 7.7% drop percentage. Not bad. A 66.7% contested catch percentage. And his pass blocking is 59.3, which is average. And his run blocking is 57.1, which is also average. Why did I include that? Because he's a tight end. Those things matter. They keep the players on the field.
Sure.
So what does it cost to get Gunnar Helm? A guy who I was a big fan of in this process. Mark Andrews, I put this on here just for you. For Gunnar Helm in a 27 third, I know right where you're going.
No.
I know. I figured. I would probably keep Mark Andrews. I would look to move a different tight end to make this deal.
Helm in a second, though, you probably do, right?
If I'm not competing, I will strung. Yeah, I probably would. If there's a second in there, because I do think that I like this tight end class coming out.
I probably wouldn't.
I know you would.
But I think for someone who's not me, that's probably rather fair.
Whenever I see trades that have a Ravens player, I try to get them in there just to make you think.
It's funny because I'm actually not like a huge homer for Ravens players in fantasy football. Like, I don't have any Zay Flowers. I don't have like any Zay. Nope. Don't have any Zay. I don't have a lot of Isaiah Likely, but I didn't really like him as prospect. That's why. I actually don't have a lot of Derrick Henry, but that's because he was already good when he came to us, and I couldn't really afford him in a lot of leagues. I have a lot of Lamar. I have a lot of Mark Andrews. I have those two players specifically. I have a lot of, and I do have a lot of Rashad Bateman, but that's because he's super cheap. So
True.
And he hasn't done anything for me though. So
great. Oddly enough, I'm also not the biggest Eagles homer when it comes to fantasy too, because then it just makes everything coagulate and become too stressful. Next trade: Jacoby Myers for Gunnar Helm and Hollywood Brown.
I'm probably hanging on to Myers, especially after the week he just had. But if I'm not competing, I don't know. I'd rather have a different wide receiver than Hollywood Brown with this deal.
Yeah, what has he even done with his season?
He was good at the beginning of the season before Rice came back. When Worthy was out, he was basically like their wide receiver one. Him and Tyquan Thornton.
Oh God, Tyquan Thornton! I forgot about him on purpose. And then here we go. I saw a lot of this 4th round picks.
There you go.
28. You get him in 27.
I'll pay a 4th for Gunnar Helm, no problem.
I was drafting him at the end of the 4th round, beginning of the 5th round, so it's pretty much.
I'll still pay that deal. Absolutely.
Nate, what is your last stash of this week?
Last stash. I was impressed with this player watching him the other day. Pat Bryant, wide receiver 89 on the season. Keep trade cuts, wide receiver 68, averaging 4.3 fantasy points per game, 51.3 on the season. Season stats aren't that impressive. 18 catches, 273 yards, 1 touchdown. But almost all that production has come in the last 5 games. That's something to note. Off the bye, this past week, he has 7 targets, 3 receptions, 42 yards. Against Kansas City the game before, 6 targets, 5 receptions, 82 yards, his best game to date. Over the last 5 games, he has 22 targets, 13 receptions, 227 yards, 1 touchdown. He's averaging 17.5 yards per catch, Mike. He's a big playmaker there.
I was a Bryant fan.
Yeah, and there's a lot of opportunity right now. Marvin Mims has not been good. He has basically the same amount of yards as Marvin Mims, and Marvin Mims is in his 3rd year. So I don't know what's going on there. And Troy Franklin, I know you talked about him a couple weeks ago as a buy. He's doing pretty well, but also, like I said in that episode, struggles to catch the ball sometimes. Pat Bryant does not have that issue. Also in the last 5 games, so he's averaging about 2.5 receptions, 45 yards, If I put that into a 17-game pace, just to help you kind of understand, because it doesn't sound very impressive. I'd say 44 receptions, 772 yards, 17-game pace, which is honestly a pretty solid rookie season. So where
Yeah.
he's at right now, this second half of the season, going back to, who I talked about earlier with Jayden Higgins, we have these guys that don't break out right away. It's ridiculous to think of every single rookie wide receiver needs to break out within the first 3 weeks like Emeka Egbuka did this year. That's just not possible. There's some guys wait until the third year. Nico Collins did. So to see Pat Bryant, start to take off in the last couple games, his yards per route run in the last 5 games is 1.8. He's pretty close to that 2 threshold. I think we're seeing something here. He's got a 5.8 yak rec like that. He's 6 of 9 in contested catch situations at a 66%. Like Pat Bryant shows a lot of good efficiencies. I'm not sure about what that entire offense looks like. I don't think they're really like heavily targeting any one wide receiver. So I don't think he's going to be like super productive, but I think he is at the moment starting to show some more promise, and going into next season could be another guy that we're looking at and has a good opportunity. So Pat Bryant's someone I'm also kind of looking to add to my portfolio a bit more with the final couple games here. And what I saw on Dynasty Daddy, this one hurt me, but I would probably do it, is Devin Neal for Pat Bryant in a third.
Okay.
I also saw Kamani Vidal straight up. If you're not competing, probably a good point to move off of Kamani Vidal. I did hear Marion Hampton's going back, so make the move real quick.
Yep.
Woody Marks, once again, people like to trade Woody Marks for these guys. That's fine. And then, Mike, I put this one on here for you, actually. Khalil Shakir for Pat Bryant in a second-round pick.
Yeah, that was tough because Khalil Shakir, like, is he the wide receiver 1 in Buffalo? Isn't he? You never know who's going to be the guy week to week up there. But Pat Bryant's what, the third wide receiving option on the Broncos?
Yeah, third, I think.
Probably hold Khalil Shakir. If I'm going to move him, I think I would look
You get a second with it.
I know.
I think I'd probably hold Shakir as well in a vacuum, but I do think with the second round pick on top, it's rather good value.
I do think the value is good, but just me personally, I would, if I'm moving Shakir, I want somebody a little more established than Bryant. And I do like that.
A little bit more established, like your next wide receiver here, right?
Man, we're stashing, okay? It's late in the season. I'm trying to give you guys to put on your radar here.
Right, the last 3 games. Not to spoil anything, but it looks pretty good.
Let's check it out. New York Jets / soon-to-be free agent wide receiver John Metchie. There you go. I love John Metchie when he came out too.
Yeah.
Glad he beat leukemia as well, by the way. That sucked. Young guy to have to deal with something like that. But on the season, he's currently wide receiver 101, keep trade cut wide receiver 88. He has 44.1 fantasy points and 4 fantasy points per game. Look, he was with the Eagles part of the season, didn't do much, but check out his last 3 games when he's had time to play and start with the Jets. And this is with a bad passing offense too. Week 11 versus the Patriots. 3 catches, 45 yards, and a touchdown. It's 13.5 fantasy points. Week 12 versus the Ravens. 6 catches, 65 yards, and a touchdown. It's 18.5 fantasy points. Coming back down to earth a little bit against Atlanta. Good defense out there in Atlanta. 4 catches, 19 yards, 5.9 fantasy points. Probably better than whatever you're plucking off the waiver wire at this point in the season, too. And look, he's making the most of his opportunity. Garrett Wilson's out. Again, this is a bad passing offense. It looked a little bit better with Tyrod Taylor in there. Sad to say. So he's going to be a free agent after the season, like I alluded to. So if he doesn't get re-signed by the Jets, can he go somewhere else and be a wide receiver too? Possibly. We just talked about the Titans needing wide receiver help. John Metchie would make the Titans wide receiver room a lot better. Better than Calvin Ridley. If I'm a GM, I'll take John Metchie over Calvin Ridley because Calvin Ridley, man, just haven't seen it in a while. And you know who else needs wide receiver help? San Francisco 49ers. Brandon Ayuk is still not back. They just running guys out there that are just all wonky, and Ricky Pearsall is always freaking hurt. So I don't know. Just 2 teams that I thought of. And, look, teams always need wide receiver help here and there too. I'm sure there's other teams that would love to have a guy.
I think he'd be a really solid wide receiver 3 somewhere. Good free agent pickup for someone who needs one of those.
Yeah, for sure. On the season, 4.5 yak rec, not great. 1.3 yards per route run. A.dot 5.1. And again, a lot of that when he was with the Eagles, I meant to have it up on PFF here. Let me bring that up. Oh boy, can't spell. John Metchie, where are you? This
I
is
was about to say PFF isn't that hard to spell.
no, I had PFF up. I just couldn't spell Metchie. So he was with the Eagles for 6 games, and in that time he had 2 catches for 18 yards. So most of his performance was with the Jets here. Okay, so I kind of want to monitor him, see what he does the rest of the season. What does it cost to get John Metchie? A 27 fourth I saw, or a 26 fourth and a 27 fourth. Like, I see people throwing out 4th round picks or just doubling up and staggering their fourths, which I'm okay with both of those, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's why I like late round picks. You can make moves like this.
Yeah, I think a 4th is fine.
Tell me what you think about this one. Zay Flowers for John Metchie and Isaac Tesla.
No, I'll keep it there. That's kind of ridiculous. There must be something else.
When I saw that, I'm like, what are we doing here? Come on.
And
yeah. Jacoby Myers for John Metchie in a second.
I don't mind the value too much, but I'd rather keep Jacoby. I've always been a big Jacoby Myers fan.
I would rather if this trade was Jacoby Myers for Pat Bryant in a second.
Yeah, I would do that.
Yeah.
Not Metchie, though. He's not established enough for me to move Myers for him.
I agree. Hey, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this latest Dynasty Rewind video. The season is winding down, as we alluded to in the video, but we are just getting started. After the Christmas break holiday, we're not taking a break. Got something planned for that week, so stay tuned for that. We're going to be starting to get into rookie content. So what I want from you is to tell us, what exactly do you want us to start with? I mean, we're here for you guys and gals, whoever's watching out there. So what would help you guys the most? Do you want to talk about draft picks? Do you want to hear about wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, tight ends? Whatever you want, we'll take everything into consideration. Till then, check out the Patreon. We got a lot of good college stuff going on over there. You could also become a YouTube member. Anything that goes on the Patreon goes on here as well, video-wise. If you become a YouTube member, the videos, you get access to those before they come out, I believe. And if you just want to hear the audio pods and you don't want to join the Patreon, have the group chat, all that good stuff, head on over to Spotify, become a Spotify premium member, and you can listen to it there as well. So until next time, thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon.